Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we're back. Episode 5 of A Million Voices podcast. I know I usually do a fit check, but I'm not wearing much creativity today besides this aqua colored shirt that reminds me of Bahamas, to which I just got back. On today's episode, I have one of my great friends, Sophia, and this is going to be a really good episode. Like, I'm excited for it. We're going to dive into a lot of different things, specifically travel, and we all know I'm a sucker for travel.
Yes.
So, Soph, do you want to give everyone kind of a background of you and like what you do now? Kind of introduce yourself?
Sure. I mean, it's always so hard to like give myself an introduction because I hate like putting myself in a box.
It's
but
true.
I mean, what do you need to know about me? I'm 24 years old. I have an aerospace engineering degree, but always knew that I didn't want to have a typical job. So graduated, started an online wellness business with my cousin and my sister, and now we have a nice team growing, and always been into like consciousness and spirituality. That's really my passion. So I have a coaching business called under the name The Mind Palace.
Check it out. Check it out.
Check out The Mind Palace. All things like really about like mindset and meditation. And on top of that, I just got certified as a yoga teacher on my 6.5-month journey through Central America. So
That's the banger. That's the mic drop.
I'm a cat mom. I adopted a cat while I was out there, traveled around with her for 4 months. So, I mean, it's been a pretty wild year for me. And I'm so happy because I waited a long time to be able to get out in the world, especially being in my aerospace engineering program, you know, and being so tied down to something for 5 years. After I graduated, I was just like,
I'm out.
I gotta go and like live.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true.
So, yeah.
And not confined in Toronto.
Yeah, there's so much out there to see and do. And everyone always tells me that they want to travel. And I'm like, okay, so just like go do it then.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, like that would be fun. That would be awesome. I'm like, you know, you can do it. Like, it's actually not that hard. Like,
everyone's talking
crazy.
like, yeah, I'll get there. Meanwhile, it's like,
and then they're like, yeah, I just started this job. And I'm like, okay, that's great.
so you're not traveling.
Yeah. I mean, no, like hate on that or anything. But if you do really want to do it, I think a lot of people create excuses why they can't.
Yeah.
But those excuses really aren't valid.
It's true. It's you restricting yourself, basically.
Exactly.
When for you, let's go back to aerospace engineering. So when did you kind of realize like, hey, this isn't for me? Like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, so I just finished the second year of my degree, and I was already during that year feeling like really lost. I was like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I'm not passionate about what I'm learning. I definitely don't want to have a regular job. And during that summer, I had started an internship at a company called Bombardier.
Oh,
it's like an
big.
aerospace engineering company, yeah. And most people in my, year would have killed for that job. But I was sitting there at the desk every day, absolutely miserable and hating my life. And I had to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning and commute for an hour on the subway and then like commute back. And I was just getting the most like boring work. I was sitting in this like dark little corner in the office, not with any cool people to talk to. And yeah, it was really sucking the life out of me. But luckily that summer really was a time when a lot of things started to shift as well. My dad took me to a Bob Proctor convention.
Okay, amazing. You want to give like a quick who Bob Proctor is for anyone that doesn't know?
Bob Proctor is one of the world's most well-known success coaches. He passed away earlier this year, but he is an absolute legend. If you know like the movie The Secret, he was featured in The Secret. But he talks about the law of attraction and really the power of your mind to be able to create whatever reality you desire. And he was a good friend of my dad's. They worked together for 14 years.
Wow. Yeah,
he was actually the first person outside of my parents to hold me when I was born.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So I feel
amazing.
super blessed. He has been a huge influence in my life since like day one, literally. And going to that convention, it was just such a crazy shift for me because I was thinking to myself, I have to change my outer circumstances if I want to feel happy, if I want to feel fulfilled. But going there, he kept saying upside down, inside out. That's like one of his signature lines. And it made me realize if I wanted my life to change, if I wanted to feel happier, if I wanted to feel more fulfilled, I had to make an internal shift, not an external one.
So kind of stop blaming everything else around you and realizing, hey, it's me.
Right.
I make that change.
Because if you try and just change your outer circumstances without changing your inner ones, eventually you're just going to find yourself in the same situation.
Yeah, that's true. Because you're relying on other things to change.
Right, exactly. And like your internal shift dictates your external reality. So, you know, you can keep going from place to place to place to place, but if you're not happy and fulfilled inside, if you can't source like gratitude and joy within you, then it's not going to matter where you are. Eventually, the newness of that is going to run out, which is something I really learned while I was traveling too.
True, because you were going to so many different places.
Yeah, and at first when I started traveling, everything was amazing. Everything was magical. You know, you're seeing the world through fresh eyes, and eventually, like, the novelty of it wears off. And you start to realize, like, this state doesn't last forever. It's something that you have to create within yourself. Yeah. So basically, I decided at that convention that I was going to make an internal shift. And so I left there and I was like, I'm just going to pretend that my job is like the best job ever. Yeah. And like, there's nowhere else on earth I'd rather be. And I'm doing the most like life-changing work, and it's just the best. So yeah, I walked into the office the next Monday morning with this huge smile on my face, literally like skipping through the halls.
Were people like, Sophia, what's up?
Yes. People were like, who is this girl? Like, where did she go on the weekend? And like, what happened to her? Because she is a different human being.
Jeez.
Yeah. It was a complete shift. Cause I was really like, I'm so miserable right now. Like I might as well just give this like my full shot. Yeah. You know? I might as well just go all into it. So that's what I did. I just really committed to the role. Because you can decide.
You were their finest employee that summer.
You can decide what character you want to play. And so I just committed to the role of like, I love what I do. Yeah. That was really the decision, was I love what I do.
Did you find that was really hard to shift into because you were like really miserable in that job, or it was literally just like overnight you were like, okay, I'm gonna do it?
I think because I went to the Bob Proctor convention and I had that high level mentorship.
That's true, yeah.
And was in that space with all of these people who really wanted and desired a change, it helps you just like quantum leap and quantum shift.
That's amazing.
If I hadn't had that, then maybe it would have been a lot harder. But because I was just like in that heightened energy, it's like an atom. When it gets like energized, it jumps to the next level of the atomic shells. I always like try and think of like physics when I'm thinking about manifestation.
That's good too, though, where that helps explain for people that, let's say, might be more like science-based or whatever. Like, and I've seen you do it a few times on the Mind Palace when you show the explanation like through science. And I think that helps a lot for a lot of people, like visually too, to see it. And you realize how it all connects. And it's actually stuff you've been learning since you were like in school. Yeah. Like it's nothing really new. It's just you're kind of taught it differently.
Right. I think. From like a more spiritual perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's like I was in this heightened energy, and so I could just like easily shift into that new reality where I loved what I did. Yep. And really everything started to change so quickly. On the first day back, I got moved from that dark desk in the middle of like the back corner of the office where none of my friends were. Yeah. To like a seat right next to a window. And if you have ever worked in an office, you know how crucial it is to have a window seat. It's like you actually get to see daylight.
It's true. It's so true.
Like it's so crucial.
It's so true.
And I was around like all my peers, and I started, because I was showing up differently, I was able to like make better relationships with my peers, have more fun during the day. I started getting assigned better tasks, like the ones that would require me to get up and move around the facility. And I was cleaning out like the storage room, but it was so fun because me and my other intern friends were just like playing with all the gadgets that we found. And we found like these models of like airplanes.
Oh, that's sick.
Like worth like thousands of dollars. It was so
cool. Play with them.
Like rather than sitting on the computer. Yeah. And that all started to happen as soon as I shifted my internal state and I started to show up differently. Even the subway rides, which I literally despised, like
if you live in
hated.
Toronto, you know that TTC is not your friend.
Right. But I started using that time to do my gratitude journal, to read. I was reading Think and Grow Rich, which is a book that Bob Proctor really recommends. It's a great one.
That's a classic.
It was like gateway drug to spirituality.
That's like the door opening.
Yeah, it was. And
so did you think that now that helped you make a routine too with like your journal, the reading?
Yeah, I started like visualizing during that time because you have no phone.
Yeah.
So you can really just like be with yourself and reflect on what you want to create. And to this day, I love subway rides. Like I will willingly choose to take the subway downtown because I don't know, it's just my perspective on it changed. And that's the thing, like nothing actually changed except my perspective changed.
Like the subway's the same. It takes the same routes, the same people. So it's like.
But that was the biggest difference. And I realized like, wow, your perspective is your experience. It's not dependent on any physical thing. It's about the lens through which you see it. Yeah. And that like really inspired me to start the Mind Palace and start doing work with like mindset. And then I discovered meditation, which was just like a whole other gateway drug. And
no, meditation's like we mentioned it in a few episodes, and I still don't know how to just explain to someone like you got to do it. You know? Not you got it, but like
people just have a lot of misconceptions about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And 100%. Like honestly, so did I. Until I realized like, okay, what it actually does for you. But once you start practicing it, and like I've told people before, you don't have to do it. Think you have to go sit there for an hour and meditate on your first day of meditating. Like 5 minutes, okay, now 10 minutes. Like grow it because you'll want to actually grow it when you start to see the effects it has on you.
Right.
And you'll operate differently. Like when you meditate every day, no joke, like you start moving different. Even if it's not intentional, you're just moving different. People will tell you like you're glowing, you're calmer, you're like, it's just, I don't know, different vibe.
Totally. It's like going to the gym.
Yeah.
You know, the first day you're probably just gonna end up feeling sweaty and sore.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. Straight up, I look the same.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
But when you do it consistently, all of a sudden you're like, where did this tricep come from? You know, like that's
because you look in the mirror, everything's different. Yeah. No, it's true.
Exactly. With consistency, you're just like, I feel a lot calmer and more clear today. It's true. Wow, I'm actually able to like notice the thoughts that are coming up and stop them in their tracks. That was, I think, what I noticed when I started meditating was I was just so much more aware of the story playing in my mind. And as soon as I heard a thought that was like, this is going to go horribly, I would be like, what? Wait, what? No. Let's just like rewrite that one.
It's true. No, it's true. And people I don't think they realize that. Like sometimes I'll say when I'm hanging with friends that don't understand like that concept. And naturally, like they'll say something negative. I'll be like, oh, like delete that.
Right.
And they'll be like, delete what? And I'm like, you know what you just said. Like, don't think that, you know? And they think it's funny. And obviously it is when you hear it for the first time. But you actually realize like you can do that. Right. You can totally control what you're thinking. You can flip the narrative into something positive instead of something negative.
Right. So, and when you do, your entire experience changes.
Yeah. So you finished Bombardier in the summer.
I did. I stood strong, finished it.
Killed it, ended hard.
Yeah.
Started the Mind Palace.
Yeah.
And then when did you
I actually didn't start the Mind Palace till like a year later.
Oh, yeah, after.
But it was like I was doing so much like self-study in that period of time.
But I feel like you kind of need that time to grow you first before you can make that platform to really like start. Like obviously you're growing also with your followers too, right? As you're learning, but you're also able to give to them as well. And then when was that shift for you that you're like, I'm cutting for a year and a half. I'm leaving Toronto.
I mean, I think it was something that I always really wanted to do.
Okay. Did you have it on like a vision board at some point? Did you have it written down?
I did have it on a vision board, but this wasn't until like after I graduated.
Got it. Okay.
You know, I was just really focused on like getting it done. And I'm not going to lie. So many times during my university, because I still had 3 more years after that.
That's true.
So many times during that, I was like depressed, having mental breakdowns. I was ready to quit. I was 3 months away from graduating and I was crying at the dinner table, begging my parents to let me quit. Because I was just like, this is dumb. Like, I'm not going to do anything with this. Why am I suffering so much over this?
Yeah.
And you know what? They were like, finish what you started. You know, you're almost there.
It's not happening.
Like, in hindsight, okay, I'm grateful that they encouraged me to do that.
Yeah.
But constantly I would just have to, I was just hitting these walls and having to shift the narrative and having to find the support that I needed to keep going. But I was really unhappy, honestly, for a long time. There was that. There was other reasons why I wasn't happy. And graduating university, I was like, I'm finally free to do what I want with my life.
Yeah.
And I saw so many people just rushing into like getting a job, you know, and even me, like I started a business, but I didn't go really like 2 feet in because I knew that I wanted to still have the freedom to really just live like day to day. Yeah. Like, what is that like to actually just be able to wake up and be like, what do I feel like doing today?
That's true.
You know, and I had some savings and like my business was making a little bit of money. So I knew that I could make it work. Yeah. I saved up as much as I could for like 6 months. And I decided, I put a date on it and I was like, this is the day that I'm going to leave. Wow. And I made a vision board, and it's so crazy coming back and looking at that vision board now because like every single thing has actually happened, but it wasn't because I like planned it and I was like, just okay, I'm going to go to this place and I'm going to have this experience. Like it just found me. Wow. And now I can look back at these photos and be like, oh my God, like that happened and that happened and that happened and that happened. Jeez. What? This is so crazy. Just because I was like seeing it and programming my subconscious with that every single day. Yeah. But then actually following through with the actions.
That's true too. Because I think that's very important. Yeah. Because it's easy to see, but unless you also do, like it, you can't really just also expect all that to happen, you know?
Exactly. It's mind, body, soul. Yeah. You know?
They all have to be aligned.
Exactly. So I actually, you know, I didn't just like think about doing it or dream about doing it or get really excited about it. I actually like took action. I put a date on it. I worked hard. I saved what I needed to save, got the systems in place that I felt like I needed to have in place. Yep. And when the day came, I just leapt. I went.
What would you say to people out there who might want to do the same thing as you, but are facing those like external restrictions of like their parents saying don't go or their friends? Because I know like obviously you went through that.
Yeah.
So
everyone thought I was insane.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Truly.
Because I ended up having to leave a little bit earlier than I had anticipated. And so I basically gave everyone like 3 weeks notice. And I was like, hey guys, so
3 weeks notice.
Yeah, in 3 weeks I'm gonna be leaving for 6 months. And yeah, I don't really have a plan. I was like,
that's another thing though. You didn't have like everything planned out, and that's what I think everyone should know too. Mm-hmm. Like she didn't have an itinerary of like, hey, the next 6 months I'm going to this restaurant, this store, like this island, whatever. I didn't even know,
like I had some ideas of like what countries I would go to, but I
not
mean,
like
it really just took a whole life of its own, my journey. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, within that 3 weeks, I had to decide, where am I going to go? Yeah. Am I going to go to Mexico? I was thinking about flying to Ecuador. And eventually, like 10 days before, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Mexico.
That was the start.
Flight. Yeah, but everyone was like, literally thought I was crazy and that I was going to die or I was going to get stuck there and not be able to come home.
Yeah, true.
People were like terrifying me, but it was just something that I knew that I had to do. And I knew that if I didn't do it, I was going to regret it. Yeah. So to those people, I would say you really have to take a moment to tune into what is your heart and your gut telling you, because if it's really meant for you, I think those two things will be in alignment. Yep. And if it's saying go, then you got to just decide that you're going, whether you have the support of the people around you or not. Yep. Like I actually had to sit down with my parents and say, listen, I hear your concerns, but I'm going to do this. And you putting all this fear into my mind is not helping me. Yeah. So you either support me the way I'm asking to be supported, or I'm going to do it without your support. Yeah. And that's tough. And then they were like, what are we going to do? Yeah. Keep like planting all these seeds of fear in her mind, or are we going to just support her the way that she needs to be supported? Because she's going to do it with or without us. Yeah.
And I think that's the tough part. And like, that's the part that most people can't do or like are scared to do. Yeah. Is like tell those around you, it could be whoever, like anyone that you really care about, like their opinion or whoever raised you, whatever it is, like
even my friends, like I knew that they weren't gonna approve.
And you're just like, see ya.
And I was like,
but see, when you feel that strongly about something, like you should be able to tell those you love, like, hey, listen, I'm going, whether you approve it or not. And like, if you really do like support me and love me back and like want me to be okay, because I also feel like people thinking all those negative thoughts kind of doesn't really manifest something good for you.
Yeah.
You know, like externally, I guess.
Yeah. And
so
yeah, I mean, like I said, I knew it was something I had to do and that I was going to do regardless of anyone else. And it was the biggest initiation, having to, you know, tell people, hey, I know you don't agree with this. I know it's not something you would do. I know it's something that you're worried about me for, but I'm going to do it anyways. Like, and then when I actually did it, and I was afraid. Don't get me wrong. I mean, everything people were telling me, it definitely scared me.
Yeah.
But
it's not like it didn't cross your mind.
Right, of course. But then every time I tuned back into my heart, back into my gut and my soul knowing, I was like, no, I'm going to be okay. I just knew I was going to be okay. Yeah. And when I finally did like get there,
you're like,
yeah, and I just felt so proud of myself that I did something for me, trusted my own intuition, regardless of what everyone else was telling me. That is like true sovereignty. And so if you're in that position where you're like, I know this is something I have to do, but I'm so afraid because I know people aren't going to approve, you're going to feel so good on the other side of it. You just have to know that. It's going to feel like you're just going to have this confidence in you. Like you can trust yourself.
Yeah. I feel like you gain a whole new confidence for yourself as well.
100%. Like going and traveling, doing that, like just jumping and saying, I'm doing this regardless of what all of you guys think, and I'm going to figure it out as I go. Yeah. It was the best thing for my confidence.
Did you find, like, was it really hard when you were there to figure things out as you went, or things were kind of falling into place a little bit here and there?
Yeah, no, it was not hard at all. Honestly, like, it was so seamless. I couldn't, like, obviously there was like challenges.
Well, there's gonna be nothing's perfect in life.
Yeah,
but like,
and like, oh, like having to like carry all your bags, and then I had a cat, and I'm like going from buses to boats to like all these crazy adventures. But like, it did flow. It flowed really easily. Like I always knew what the next step was when I needed to know it, and that was maybe like a week ahead of time. Like,
well, yeah. It wasn't like months in advance.
You just trust. Like, for example, me choosing to go to Mexico, I did that because that just flowed. Like, my really good friend was going with her grandparents. Her grandparents invited me to stay with them for as long as I needed to.
That worked.
So I was like, okay, that's just like a natural
path.
I'm going to take that path. And then I had a friend living in Guatemala.
So is that where you went after?
Yeah, that's where I went after. And so, you know, I went there and I was only supposed to be there for 2 weeks. But about a week before, I was like, I have this feeling like I'm going to really like it there. And I'm going to want to spend my birthday there because I didn't know where I was going to spend my birthday.
True.
I was going to go to a completely different country. But then I was just like, you know, Daria, I kind of feel like I'm going to like it here a lot and maybe want to stay longer. So I stayed longer. She was like, you know what? I'm actually, like, my dad's coming and we're going to be traveling all over Guatemala. So if you want to, like, stay in my house while we're gone, you can do that. So and again, I was like, okay, I guess that's the right decision then. Yeah. You know, and then I just stayed.
Wow. Okay.
And it just kept happening like that. Like, then because I ended up staying, I met the guy that I'm currently dating.
Yes.
And, you know, in March, I had already planned to do my yoga teacher training. But after that, I didn't know where I was going to go. He was living in Nicaragua, invited me to come there.
And then you went there.
So I went there. And I was never planning to go to Nicaragua.
It wasn't even on the list.
That was not on the list at all. And then my mom came.
I know.
My mom was like, I'm going to come to Costa Rica. And I was like, all right. You know, so then I was with my mom, and then by that point, I was just like, where do I feel like going next? What's really calling me? And
I'm going to go there.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's cool, though. Like, literally everything kind of just lined up. Like, the doors were just opening, and maybe a lot of it had to do with the fact that you didn't have a plan.
Exactly.
Because I feel like if you had a plan, like, let's say when you chose to stay in Guatemala, but let's say originally it's like 2 weeks only. Even if your friend said, okay, like, you know, stay in my house, I feel like there's this extra pressure added because you're not following a plan now. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, okay, but she's offering me a house. Oh, but I'm supposed to leave in 2 weeks. Like, but whereas when you don't have one and you're just going with it.
Right. Like if I booked my flights already.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have met the guy that I'm dating now. Exactly. I would not have had my cat. I wouldn't have my
You have
cat.
a cat
There's
who's such a cutie.
So many
Holy.
things that I wouldn't have experienced if I hadn't just been given myself the space to just flow and see what felt good in the moment. And that's what I wanted from that experience, to live that way of life.
Yeah.
Because it is a way of life and people are living that way.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are living that way. They're not living in what we call like the matrix.
That's true.
You know, this
Fast-paced.
prefabricated life that we think we're supposed to have, where you go to school, you get a job, you know, you get married, you have kids, you buy a house, you do all the things. There are some people who are really just like, I wonder what today's gonna bring.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true. That's
Like-
so true. And honestly, you find it a lot though in like more of those countries, or like you go to like Europe or South America. Like it's more, they're not really stressed the way we're stressed. Like, okay, we didn't do it today, we'll do it tomorrow. Like here it's like, I have timelines and I have to do it today. If it's not done today, like how am I going to do it tomorrow? Like it's just so different.
It is.
And did you find when you got back that adjustment between the two like really, really hard? Or
Yeah, I mean, I felt the energy shift right away. The adjustment was tough. Like I thought by the end of the 6 months, I was kind of like, okay, I'm ready to come home now.
Yeah.
Like I miss my family. I want a sense of familiarity and comfort, because constantly having like new everything, it does kind of disturb your nervous system.
For sure, yeah, because you're never
You know?
really like settled completely.
Right.
I feel,
And your subconscious has to like process all that. And I feel like
True.
it was like backed up. Like my computer
like-
system was like
It was
glitching
clogged.
because I was like, I put so much new data in for
Yeah.
it to process in such a short period of time. So I was like, okay, I'm craving like familiarity and just comfort. And I was ready to come home. So I came back and I was like, okay, yeah, it's going to be great. I'm going to have all this motivation. I'm going to like, you know, get all these things done that I haven't been able to do because I've been just so go. And then I got here and I was like, I felt like I got hit by a bus. Felt like
Jeez.
so disoriented. And it was because, you know, it was kind of like I hit pause on my life here, went and just lived this whole other life.
Like a whole other
With
world.
like, with a whole new scene, whole new characters, whole new experiences. Like the plot just like completely changed in my
It's
life.
like a new book.
Yeah.
And we're jumping back.
And then I came back here and I was like, it's like I just hit play again. It's like I was like dreaming or
nothing
something,
changed.
or I just like went into another dimension and then just came back to this one, and like nothing had changed except now I have a cat.
I have a cat and a boyfriend.
And a boyfriend. But it was just, but it's not something that he's not like here.
That's
you
true
know?
too. Yeah. So the only thing here that changed was your cat.
Right. And I'm like, but I know that I'm different. I know that so much has, maybe looking at me, like it doesn't look like I'm different, but inside, like I feel so different. And it's kind of felt like being a foreigner in like a familiar place.
Wow.
And so I really had to give myself the space to slow down and to reconnect with my purpose. Because another thing with traveling is like, you really realize like you don't know anything. You know, it humbled me so much.
It's true.
I was like,
I feel like we grow
I
up
really
in
don't
like
know.
this little bubble.
Yeah.
And like even if you take a trip, okay, you go to the Caribbean for whatever, a week, or you lived actually there for like 5 years and so.
No, I lived there
A
for 3 years.
So like even
Yeah.
then, but you were smaller, right?
Yeah, I was young.
Yeah. So I feel like when you go now, like when you're older, you take a trip, you don't really get to experience the way you did. Like you were in like the local streets and like,
I went
know.
to school there.
yeah, that's true.
Oh, like when I was
but even
younger.
on your
Yeah.
trip, yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's like you were in like
I had
the local
I was just
area.
like living. People are like, "Oh, you had a great vacation." I'm like, I wasn't
a
on vacation. Like
yeah.
I was literally just living my life
Yeah.
there. Like I was still working. I was still like doing the same type of things that I would be doing here,
Yeah.
which is there. Like I had friends, so I started to have like social obligations, and I had
Yeah.
the responsibility of taking care of my cat, and you know, it was just like basically just I just moved my life there.
Yeah. Which
And that's
is
what
like,
I wanted. I wanted like I had to get my groceries and like
Yeah.
make myself
you
food.
had literally like that living there experience, whereas
Yeah.
like If I went on a trip to Mexico for a week, I'm not going to get that. I'm going to go on the
Right.
resort, sit on the beach and be like, Mexico was great. It was nice, you know?
Right.
Whereas like, even I tell people with Europe, like when I went to Italy a few years ago, we stayed like locally with my cousins. So that experience is very different than when you go and you're in like Rome or like you're in this Venice, like very touristy areas.
Right.
Because you don't see, okay, how they have to go every morning and get their food and like
Right.
how they cook it, like stuff like that. So I feel like
Right.
you're in that same situation where you met locals, you were really in their lifestyle.
I started to learn the language.
Yeah.
You know, I really like started to integrate into what is it like to live in Central America. And that's what I wanted because I want to live in Central America.
So that's
I
like, is
love
that your
part of the
goal?
world.
Like you want to go
Yeah,
there?
I'm
Yeah.
like trying to move
All right.
like next year.
Jeez, I found that out for the first time.
Yeah, no, I'm moving for sure. But
Alright.
I've
I
said
don't
this
blame you though. It's
since I
true.
was so young. I've said I want to live in different countries in my life.
Yeah.
Like live, like go somewhere and live there for like a year, then go somewhere else and live there for like a year. Because there's so much to experience on earth. Like, isn't it so limiting to live your entire life in one place?
Yeah. But some people are comfortable.
I get that.
You know?
And you know what? It's not everyone's path.
No, it's not.
It's definitely an unconventional way of life.
Yeah.
But for me, I feel more at home when I'm living nomadically than when I'm stagnant in one place.
Which is huge. That
Yeah.
also helps fuel you to travel too, right?
Yeah.
What would you say
Exactly.
is like, I don't want to say your biggest lesson, that's a heavy question, but like maybe a few lessons you learned while you were gone that like, you know, you left and you were like, wow, I really took this away from like that experience.
Definitely one of the things was like feel the fear and do it anyway.
Okay.
Because there was
I
so
like
many
that.
times when I was like face to face with fear. And not in a way that I felt like I was in danger.
Okay.
I don't want to give people the wrong impression, but like, for example, climbing a volcano.
Check out, what is it, on Mind Palace that you have it there? Or one of your accounts, you have the post and you're like brushing your teeth.
Oh, that's on Sophia de Mucho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, just quick plug, check out both her accounts because her experience is basically like, and you're still uploading
there's
it.
still so much
Yeah.
to share. Like so
Yeah.
so much
But
to
go
share.
back to the volcano.
Yeah, just like there was one volcano I climbed two. So one of them that I climbed, it was intense.
Was that the
Like,
one I replied and I was like, how are you alive? You were like going.
Yes, I was like a vertical, like
Yeah.
rock climbing up this thing. In Crete, that was only halfway. I still had to go down.
True. So how long do you stay at the top?
Like people only think when they're about climbing the volcano, they only think about going up.
Yeah,
They
it's
don't think
true.
about like the fact that you have to go down after. And that is sometimes even harder than going
for
up.
sure. For sure.
But, you know, I kind of have like a fear of heights,
Oh, wow.
you know, and we're getting higher and you know, you can't just like be at the bottom.
Yeah, it's true.
You have
Jeez.
to keep going.
Yeah.
You have to just keep going higher and higher and higher, and you're just faced with this fear and you just have to keep pushing through it. And then I did like a bunch of cliff jumping while I was there too. And again, me being afraid of heights,
Yeah.
and your mind is like, what are you doing? You're gonna die, you're gonna break something, like this is not gonna go well. And then you do it and it's like, oh, actually, like that was kind of fun.
I'm alive.
Right, like I'm alive.
Yeah.
I went wakeboarding for the first time.
That's cool.
You know, I've never gone wakeboarding before, and it's always scary when you're trying something for the first time, and like
sure.
you're trying to get up on the board and you know you're probably gonna fall and like
Wipe out.
wipe out. You know, but then I did it and I got up and it was amazing. And even when I fell, I was like, that wasn't as bad as like my mind made it seem.
Yeah, I feel
it
like
was
some people
gonna
will be like, you're going to fall, you're going to break an arm, you're going to hit the water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like we get so scared to do something, and your mind creates all these stories, but it's only by like feeling that fear, seeing it in front of you and just like doing it anyway, that you realize, hey, it's actually not that bad. And then that's a muscle that you've trained, where now anytime I want to do something that's scary, maybe it's not like something like, you know, climbing a volcano or wakeboarding, maybe it's something like putting myself out there on social media.
Yeah.
Now I can notice that story and do it anyway because it's a muscle that I've trained.
Yeah.
You know?
So there's kind of like less hesitancy when that fear comes up for you.
Right. Even like learning a new language, like that's so hard, and it's so scary to actually practice talking.
That's where I think it is. It's like
Yeah.
even me with Italian, like I know a few words can string a sentence,
Right.
but to say it to someone who's fluently Italian, I always get like Because I'm
Right,
like,
you
they're
freeze
gonna,
up.
yeah, because they're gonna be like, I feel like they're gonna laugh or whatever.
Mhm.
But I feel like half the time they appreciate you trying.
They do.
Right.
100%. And they will understand what you're trying to say, even if you
Yeah,
don't
that's
get
true.
it so 100% right. And I realized the only way that I was going to learn was to actually just do it and just like say it. And, you know, by the end of my trip, one of the last things I did was I went and volunteered with an indigenous family in like a very rural part of Guatemala. And I was, you know, living with them for a week in their home, which was, again, very outside of my comfort zone experience. It was not, you know, a house the way that we would imagine a house. You know, we're cooking over a fire and it's a very simple life. And the village is like so tiny. There's like 4 streets. It takes like 5 minutes to walk around the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's very different. And on top of that, they don't speak English. They don't speak a word of English. But by that point, now I was like traveling for 6 months. I had no problems communicating with them for the week. I could understand everything they were saying to me. Wow. I could respond back like most of the time. I could always find the words to say what I wanted to say. But I was like, wow, look how far I've come in such a short period of time just because I was willing to put myself out there. And luckily I had really great friends that I made along the way who were bilingual, who gave me the courage to just try and say things. And even though I knew I probably wasn't going to say them right. But that's how you learn.
It's true.
That's how you learn. So that was a really great lesson.
That's huge. I don't know, that's so like inspiring in a way, you know?
Yeah.
Would you go on another like 6-month thing, or you think your next big venture would be like a move?
It's tough because I think I'm gonna do both. Like even though I want to move somewhere, like the travel bug is always gonna be there. True. Somewhere I really want to go is to Nepal. Ooh, I want to trek the Himalayas, and I want to volunteer for like 3 months at a school.
There.
Yeah, teaching kids English. So that's definitely going to be a big like 6-month adventure that I'm going to do.
For sure.
I don't know when it will be just yet. I'm allowing the timing to marinate and feel right. But something that I do know for sure is like I am ready to move to another country and just live there. Would
you say your first country to move out to is your favorite? Wait, tell everyone where your favorite place is.
Okay, my favorite country was Guatemala. It's amazing. Nobody ever talks about it. And I feel even like weird talking about it now because I don't want like people to go and discover this hidden gem. But it's literally such a beautiful country. I feel like it's just like heart chakra blast when you go there.
Okay, that's big.
Most people don't know this, but Guatemala was the heart of the Mayan Empire. People think that it was Mexico, but it was actually Guatemala. You can see the biggest Mayan complex ever discovered there.
From there.
Yeah, it's called Tikal.
Did you go?
Yeah, I went. It was sick.
That's cool.
And it's just like there's so much to see. There's every type of landscape possible. The people were the kindest there. Okay. Out of everywhere that I went, people in Guatemala were just like so welcoming, and they would go out of their way to make you feel at home. And it was amazing. And I could totally see myself living there and moving there.
That'd be cool.
I've been thinking about it. I was like,
that's
it kind of feels right. Antigua, most amazing city. Like probably one of the most beautiful cities in the world. People think it's an island. I was just gonna say there's an island called Antigua, but it's also a city in Guatemala. Yeah, and it's just.
But that's the one you post the most pictures from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Yeah. From what I see.
Just like this old rustic colonial city.
That's so cool.
Small enough that you can walk it, you know?
Yeah.
And then surrounded by these volcanoes.
Was it there that you said there was a lot of like cool cafes?
Yes. Right. It's like the land of amazing cafes in Antigua. That's the thing. So it's like so old but so modern at the same time. Yeah. It's like the perfect spot for a digital nomad.
All right. Which is you.
Yes.
And that works too because your business, you can be virtual. Like you don't have to be here.
Exactly.
Which helps.
Exactly. So yeah, I loved it there. I would totally move there. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Never know.
Maybe we'll have her on in like a year before she moves. Mm-hmm. You can tell everyone the big plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be cool. So, final question. What's one thing you would tell your younger self?
Yeah, This is a really tough question because there's so many things.
For sure. And I feel like you also just experienced so much in the last year and half a year. That's like, it also varies the question too.
But here's one thing that I would tell my younger self, because it's something I've been reflecting on recently. And that is that the only thing that you'll regret in life is how long it took you to forgive someone.
Wow. Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of ties into the whole, like, you should always forgive, you know, as tough as it is.
Yeah. Forgiveness was one of the big lessons that I've experienced in life, and really had the time now to process and to integrate. I could do a whole another podcast on that, honestly. But yeah, when I think back to my life and I think about like, what do I wish I had done differently? That's it. Is like, I just wish I had forgiven sooner. I wish I hadn't held that grudge. But that also comes with being able to understand the reason why people do hurtful things.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Being able to understand like the way that our mind works and how trauma response works. And so that's why I'm really passionate about everything I do on the Mind Palace, because you know, I have the manifestation stuff and the creating your own world reality stuff, but it's deeper than that. It's also about really, where is the pain that lives within us and how does it show itself without us even knowing it, you know? And how can we heal that so that we don't project those things onto other people, right? And we can actually have deeper compassion for people when we understand these things.
That's true.
You know, we don't take things so personally. And instead of feeling very hurt and like, oh, I need to resent you, we're just like, how can I help you?
Yeah.
You know, how can we work together to heal this?
Yeah.
It just really shifts your perspective on pain and on suffering, and something I'm super passionate about. So, yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah.
That's a good one, actually.
Yeah.
That's something I'm going to start trying to do. Because it's true. Like, I feel like anyone, though, before we end off, like, I feel like anyone can kind of look back in their life and realize, like, there might be people they still haven't forgiven.
Yeah.
Or they say they did, but did you really? Like,
Right.
it takes work. Like, when someone really, 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 really hurts
There's
you.
like layers.
It's not
There's
just
layers.
like, oh, I slept on it a few days and I'm good.
Right.
Really? But then when you see them, you want to, like, jump at them. Like, you're not forgiven, you know?
Right.
So I really like that. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your experience and everything you kind of learned also. Guys, I hope you loved that episode. I did. Follow Soph on both her pages, right?
Yeah.
It's two.
So Sophia Demuccio,
And
SOPHIA DIMUCCIO. I don't know if I should spell it.
No, it's okay.
You should just put it like
Yeah,
at the
I'm gonna
bottom
put it
right
at the
here.
bottom.
And then themindpalace.ca is the second one. But yeah, Cree, thank you so much for having me.
No
This has been so
problem.
much fun.
I love hearing about travels and like your experiences. We honestly really have good conversations every time we kind of hang out. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you got to share with all my viewers, followers. Guys, subscribe, like, comment. Like I say, I don't know them all yet. Do it. We appreciate the support. Please, any feedback as well. I truly, truly appreciate it. Hit Soph up if you have any questions with regards to anything she talked about. Doesn't just have to be travel. Like, check out her pages. It goes way deeper than that. And we'll catch you guys on the next episode.